Just want to, we always start by asking about our relationships with the film that we're discussing. Had you seen this before? Do you remember when you first saw it?
I had seen it a little while ago. I came to Peter Hyams late, which always bums me out, other than sudden death, which was like a staple in my household. Yeah, this one I had seen maybe a few years ago, but probably I have memories, I want to say, of this playing on cable at some point when I was a kid. Like I have memories of the monster, like the creature design. So I'm pretty sure I might have seen it then, but yeah, this was one that, I've been doing a little bit of a Himes like deep dive earlier this year, but I had seen this one a few years ago. And yeah, rewatching it again for this, just like it really reminded me of just how it's just such a tight movie. There's no fat on it at all. It's kind of crazy.
Do you have a favorite Hyams out of interest?
That's tough because I love Outland. I think Outland's like just such a great Western. Like I watched that right around the same time I was watching the Bud Bedecker box set the Criterion put out of all his Westerns. And I was just in such a zone for that. And Outland like really blew me away. But one I like always shout out to people as like just a really great movie that I don't think ever gets enough credit is especially because it's a sequel to one of the greatest movies ever made is 2010, right. The Year We Make Contact.
Great movie.
Great movie.
Excellent. Yeah. I think if I'm pushed, that might be his best movie, but it's
probably
tough.
His most ambitious.
Yeah.
And brave.
Yeah. Yeah.
To try and do a sequel to a Kubrick movie and kind of pull it off.
Yeah.
Especially I think the ending of that movie is really amazing and
it's
such
incredible.
A great cast.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm rocking my Con-Am t-shirt as I'm contractually obligated to do for the Hyams Hive because I love Outland as well. I think Outland is amazing.
Great. Yeah.
And Outland's kind of in the conversation right now because it feels very parallel to the new Alien movie in and how it almost feels like it's part of the same universe to some extent with that aesthetic, the mining colony, the brutal corporation pressing down on people, etc., and the way that they're all living in there.
My favorite sci-fi is the kind of stuff that has like working class guys, like, and it feels like, you're just watching like, guys at like the steel mill, but they happen to be in space. And I feel like Hyams sci-fi, even 2010 has that kind of feeling, even though those are scientists in that movie, obviously. I still feel like Roy Scheider just inherently has like a working class kind of vibe
to him. Yeah.
Well, so does Tom Sizemore, and there's certainly some of that in this movie. The way it juxtaposes like the well-heeled people showing up for the gala, and
the affinity for the working class is something very Die Hard, very Tony Scott. Something that I love to see in movies. Liam, were you a big Relic guy?
So I saw this.
You should have that on a t-shirt.
A Relic guy.
I'm a big Relic guy.
I'm a big Relic guy.
People flock towards you.
Yeah, I'm gonna order that while I talk about my relationship with this movie. I saw this in the theater. I have a very clear memory of seeing it with my buddy Brian, who I've talked about on this show before. And I also have read the book. I read the book
really
when the movie came out, and I have actually a very distinct memory. I don't remember the book because I was 1997, so it's a million years ago. But I remember reading the book and I remember reading the passage where the Cthulhu, who's in the studio with us today, first shows up in the book. And he starts eating someone. Like I remember sitting on my couch and like sitting up during that section. So I have a very visceral memory of this. And then I revisited it kind of randomly last year when I was on Paramount Plus, and it was one of those like we did not know how good we had it in 1997 because this movie kicks ass. And I remember when it came out, I was like, yeah, cool, like that was cool. I had a good time watching that. But now I'm like, this is like a 5-star, 3-star movie.
It's funny that you brought up the book just because when you mentioned how when I tweet everyone's normal, I tweeted that I was watching this movie the other day and this person was nice, but it just was funny to me. I had just read that it was based on a book right before I tweeted that I was watching, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then, most of the replies were people just saying like, oh yeah, this is a banger, great movie. But then one person went on like a multi-tweet thread in my replies about how this like is a disgrace to the book, and I'm just like, and he wasn't
go outside.
Yeah, but it's what's funny is he wasn't mad at me about it, but he was like, but I'm glad you like the movie. But I was just reading these, and I was like, man, I had no idea that anyone had such serious thoughts on the Relic novel. Like, very funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty disposable, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, it's a great plain book, or like a great like sitting around. Like when you're what was I 15 in 1997? It was the coolest thing ever. But like, you know,
it's like people haven't understood that literature and cinema are different art forms.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
down.
like you can't. I know that might break your brain a little bit, but just hear me out. Right? A book and a movie are different. A book is going to be
and the book features
9 hours long.
The book features an FBI agent who's a recurring character in the Lee Child and Douglas Preston series.
Really?
Who Hyams?
Wow.
I forget his name. But Hyams cuts him out, but he's the main, essentially the main character in the book.
Interesting.
But I think wisely, to your point, Phil, he was like, I don't have room. We're not building a franchise here. We're making a one-off monster movie to release, in January.
One and done.
So